Okay. Anthony and Danielle Hayes, thanks so much for joining me on the couch with our coffee. Here we go again, or our herbal tea.
Herbal teas.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sue.
thank
Great to
you.
be here.
Oh, you guys, I've been admiring the work you do. A Time for Change. It's a really conscious living, and it's just so poignant, and it says everything about what's needed and what I can relate to. And it's so nice to connect from so far away, you know.
Yeah.
I've been
It's
to
a
Bali
wonderful
once.
community.
Pardon?
The mindfulness community. It's such a wonderful community.
Yes.
Everybody connecting and
Yeah. I was in Bali once about 25 years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, just on holiday. And I just always remember being really freaked out by experiencing geckos for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember complaining to the hotel staff that there were lizards running around the room. I just had a laugh, you know. When you come from Ireland, you don't experience much of that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
When are you coming back to Bali then?
Oh, I'd love to. I will.
Mm.
Yeah, I would love to. Gosh, it just seems so exotic, and I've never had better food in my life.
It's got better.
Yeah.
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 So you're on holiday in Australia at the moment?
Yes, we are. We go back Monday. So we've got a few more days here, just sorting out some boxes of things that have been stored. So that's been an interesting experience.
Oh, okay. So are you guys from Australia?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Okay, and living in Bali. How long have you been in Bali then?
Just over 4 years now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we went for a year and stayed like a lot of people. So
Yeah.
Yeah, this week's been a challenge to our mindfulness.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's where you put it to work, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know. And it's lovely. Yeah, it's lovely when you see it actually does work.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And you pick yourself up when you're sort of teetering on the edge.
Yes.
Hang on, I can feel all these things happening now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's be here while we're going through boxes and everything. It's
boxes that have been waterlogged and filled with water and
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It is what it is. So,
It is,
It's stuff.
Okay, it's stuff, exactly.
It's stuff. Yeah, we can get over that. Yeah. That's the thing, when you've moved a few times and you realize all this stuff that you're just not going to take, and you actually don't miss it, and you move on, you know.
Yeah.
The less you have, the happier you are.
Sorry. We had quite a lot of stuff in storage 4 years ago, and then every year we come back and we do another clean out and another clean out. It's like we're a bit more ready each year to sort of let go of more and more.
Yeah.
This year was kind of it. It was like, okay, we're having one storage box. That's it. Whatever doesn't go in there is being sold or given away. Or
yeah, it's really liberating.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about how mindfulness all began for you guys.
Oh wow, it's about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
6 or 7 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you want to tell
6
the
or 7
story?
years ago. Well, I had just become a principal of a school, and it was a way I'd moved away from the kids and Elle, and I actually had a really bad bout of depression for a lot of reasons. And then Elle brought me home this book, and I started to read it, and it just made so much sense. And then started trying the techniques and the meditations and the mindful activities. It was such a gift. And then it's just grown from there for sure.
And it was a funny thing because I didn't buy the book for mindfulness. I didn't know anything about it either, but the book was called Beat Depression Fast. Not the sort of book I would ever normally pick up. I didn't like the title.
Yeah.
But I was standing in this, it was a news agency, it wasn't even a bookshop, and it just jumped out at me, and I flicked through it, and a couple of words sort of caught my eye, and I went, you know what, I'm just going to buy this. I'm feeling a little bit desperate in what I can do to help. And I think you put it aside and said, I'm not ready to read that. I said, that's okay. Just leave it there. You might pick it up one day. And about a week later, I think you picked it up and read it and started to read a few things out to me. And I was like, oh, okay, this sounds really interesting. I need this too. So we started, on it together. And then I guess as a teacher, I started to realise as it was creeping into my, personal life, obviously, and then I was taking it to school and using it and started to realise, wow, this stuff really works in the classroom and I can actually help kids learn this. And my classroom was a totally different space after that. I was not an anxious, stressed out teacher as much. And, I remember talking to one of my students one day and saying, she was very anxious. And I said, I used to be like you. I used to have that sort of level of anxiety. And she said, Niece, I can't believe it. I can never, ever believe that you had anxiety. And I thought, wow, that's when I knew it was working, when a child could not sense that in me at all, even in the most stressful moments in the classroom. So,
yeah. Wow. I've had the same. When I said to a girl recently that I really struggled, and she said, oh my gosh, you come across, I've met her probably about 5 or 6 times, as so calm. And I said, well, it's taken a lot of practice, and it's a constant practice. So I'm like, it works. It works.
It
But that's amazing that it's had such it's amazing how we find it and often find these techniques at the right time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And as you say, when it has helped you, and then you can share it and you see the impact it has in the classroom.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really helped to grow it. Like we did a mindfulness-based stress reduction course over 8 weeks, and that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then we did a 7-day silent retreat, which was a very interesting experience.
Challenging.
7 days, 7-day silent retreat.
Yeah, it was,
throwing ourselves in the deep end, we thought.
Yeah.
And it's
I cheated just a little bit. They gave us enough. Every afternoon we were to go for a walk. And so I would grab Anthony and go, I just have to get the words out and then I'll be quiet again.
But you could write, hey? Could you write?
You could, yes.
It was
an amazing experience.
Yeah, but we've been very lucky to, I guess, to grow with it. And I don't know, there's no right or wrong with it. And that's what we've learned, whatever happens. And we've got a great teacher in Bali at the moment that we're working with, just a parent of some of the kids we taught. And she's just amazing, just opening your eyes up even more to it, and just how it's so individualized and so how many different things work for everyone. And it's just, that's the beauty of it. It's just allows everyone to be, as you know, and that's the greatest gift. It's the greatest gift.
It is. It is. And so, gosh, that's amazing. For anxiety or depression, what did you have any techniques that you found that if there's anybody like starting out and just doesn't know where to begin, what would you, as a starting point, can you give any advice there?
Well, we've sort of created a little model for our business, I guess, and we've realised that can transfer to whether we're working with parents or children or teachers or couples. And for everybody, we say it starts from within. So self-compassion, any self-compassion type exercise is a beautiful place to start.
Yeah. Self-compassion's particularly important for me. After I went into the depression, I remembered suppressed memories of being abused by a Catholic priest when I was 10 years of age. Ooh. So it's been a big process for me with self-compassion and self-forgiveness and that sort of thing. So it's a constant growth, and so I was lucky to find mindfulness, but Elle and I being on the journey together helps a lot as well, because that trauma is another massive thing to deal with, and it still troubles me, every now and then, and pretty every day, really. In some ways, you remember not so great things, but it's about that being there in the moment, and that's how I've learnt so much about it. And we call it now dropping an anchor, I guess, and we've picked that up from some learning we've done online. And dropping an anchor is just bringing you back right to this present moment, and that works so well. for me anyway.
Yeah, and when you're both in it together, it's like it's stronger. You know, we're more powerful. You know, when you're in numbers working together. So you're very blessed to have each other. As I know, I read, like, I mean, I can read that, you know, in your posts, and you're very connected. You're on the same wavelength, and that's really, really powerful and lovely to see.
And
we are very lucky.
Yeah, like I think even over the last 6 months, we've been learning more about ourselves and more about mindfulness. And I think we've had some great mindful conversations, even in disagreeing on things, you know, like setting boundaries well. And we've probably even, you know, 28 years of marriage has developed even more, which is beautiful. We're just so lucky because, like I said, mindfulness gives you the opportunity to say, hey, that's not good for me, or, you know, so it removes those times of less communication, I guess.
Yeah, it does. It opens up a whole new level of communication where you don't have that sort of ego jumping in to create those reactions that then put the walls up and nothing gets resolved. So, yeah, I think that you're right. I think it's the last 6 months, certainly since we left full-time work, and, well, we still do full-time work in our business, but, you know, leaving teaching, and, you know, we were both principals and pretty stressed and, you know, on the go from early in the morning till early evening, and not a lot of time to just sort of sit and be. And that's where we got to. We sort of went, what are we doing? Like, why are we living this life where we're running ourselves ragged? We want to be more mindful and we want to sort of live with more purpose, and yet we're still stretched, really stretched. So it was a big step to step away from, you know, we'd been teachers for 30 years, so you have that whole life set out for you. You're very institutionalized. We sort of, you know, bells ring and you jump and you know what time you can go to the toilet and when you can have a coffee. And so to step out of all that's been really interesting. But I think just that freedom and opening up of all of those walls, our relationship's certainly grown even more. So
because mindfulness, it builds your self-awareness, as you said, and the more you can grow as a person yourself, the better your relationships are, because you can communicate better, and you're more mindful of how you are in the world, and that impacts on everybody around you. And you did a conscious coupling course, or for couples.
Yes.
Yeah, you see, I've been following. So
well done.
That's what I'm thinking, you know, it's actually for everybody. And instead of like now don't quote me, although, you know, as part of a pre-marriage course, it should be like mindful coupling course, you know, how to be more mindful with each other. So it translates into every area of one's life. How did that course go?
It was amazing.
It was fantastic.
So lucky. It was just,
we gave a course, we gave a talk on the Tuesday night, and we were expecting sort of 20 to 30 people, and we had 80 people turn up, which was amazing because the room was packed. It was our first sort of big talk, so we were a little bit nervous, and as these people were filing through the talk, going, wow, okay, but this is needed. Like, people really picked up on that, and it was, you know, people in couples, people who aren't in relationships but would like to be, people who in a difficult relationship, you know, people came from all walks to sort of hear what we had to say. And then we ran a workshop on the Saturday, which was fantastic. So really digging deep into people's egos and what triggers you, and, you know, those triggers that can then cause a disturbance in your relationship, or cause the relationship to be a bit stuck, or cause an individual to struggle in relationships because there's some unresolved sort of or unmet needs, you know, from our childhood, which we've all got.
Yes, absolutely.
Sometimes into those, and really, we did the same as a very similar course with teachers a few weeks ago, and it was really interesting as well. We got them to dig deep into their ego and see what sorts of things trigger them, because we've all got those children in the classroom that trigger us for no apparent reason sometimes, but, you know, you just feel it sometimes, and nothing wrong with a teacher. It's just we all get triggered by certain things. And we had one teacher say to us at the end, she said, wow, I've got this little girl that comes in every morning crying. And there's a part of me that just gets really frustrated with her, thinking, oh, you've been crying every morning at drop off for 2 years. Like, you've got to get over it. And then when she dug deep into her ego as to why this little girl triggers her, she realised that she'd been sent to boarding school when she was young and hadn't had anybody there for her when she
and you can't. Yeah.
It was a real, you could see the lights just sort of switch on, and she went, I need to give this child so much more compassion. And that was beautiful, because I thought, well, that's, you know, there's growth on both sides then, because that little girl will probably respond to having a much more empathetic teacher greet her in the morning. And
very cool.
That's huge. Yeah, it makes you see the story behind the triggers, you know. But look at the why, you know. When the light is shined on that, there's no going back. It's just personal growth from there, which has an impact on everybody.
And when we're talking about couples, you know, understanding each other's stories and triggers is really important. And, you know, we worked with a couple once, and the lady was saying, you know, he just leaves every time there's an argument or a problem. He walks out the door. And when we got down to it, you know, he had a very difficult childhood and some violence in his childhood. And so when anything erupts, when there's a little bit of emotion, he needs to escape. You know, that was his safety thing, to get out of there. So when she understood that, you know, they could come to a little bit more empathy with each other about the situation. So it's really interesting working with people when they just get that moment and switch on and go, wow, okay, now I understand you just that little bit more, and now I can have a little bit more empathy. And
it's about taking that space, hey, to be able to look at it from you know, be the observer of your thoughts, emotions, behaviors. When you're the observer, it's like, wow, because we're also in it, you know, that automatic behavior that we need to step back. And that's what mindfulness gives you. So yeah, you're right, it is such a gift.
It is a gift.
It's beautiful because you know, a lot of times we're actually being human doings rather than human beings. You know, in our really busy world, we just seem to be, like I said, it's just time to be. And that's once again what mindfulness and being the noticer, noticing your thoughts is just, it's such, like, it is a gift. It's, you just go, well, there's that thought again, or there's that story, that's my not good enough story, or that's my you know.
What? I was just worried about the sound.
Sorry about that. So yeah, there's my stories coming back. I'm noticing these stories, and that's amazing.
It is.
And the other thing is, and I'm trying to read John Kabat-Zinn's book about living the full catastrophe. I don't know if you read that.
No, I haven't read that one.
About this big.
Oh, God. Well, that's probably why I haven't read it. Is it on audio?
That's why I'm still trying.
Might take me a good few hours by the sounds of it.
It'd take me ages, but it's just a classic. It just talks about being there in all your moments, whether they're good ones or whether they're, you know, without the judgment. It is what it is. And I think that's the hardest thing for me about it, is getting away from that labeling of good and bad, you know. I don't know, that judgment.
But it's a process, right? It doesn't happen overnight. And that's what, you know, that's what for people, it's a way of being, and it's constant. It's like I say, I practice, as you guys do, it's a practice every day. It's not like you read a book and, well, now you know what to do and it's going to all work. It's about using it daily. And as things come up, you go, okay, you know, so it's actually a constant. But I find that beautiful, because you're constantly growing and you're constantly evolving in the right direction then. And it's a lifelong of learning and realizations and self-awareness. So it's not like, box ticked and I'm done, you know? And every day you learn more about yourself, and it's actually fascinating, don't you find?
And that's where that self-compassion comes in.
Yeah.
beat yourself up every time you don't get it right, or you forget, or you slip up. It's not that sort of a thing. It's
Yeah.
constant. Okay, I didn't get it then, or I snapped at this, but that's okay. I'll take a deep breath and I'll move on and just keep forgiving myself for not being perfect. And that's such a gift in itself.
Yeah, that's what I say. I'm very imperfectly perfect. And you know what? It's been such a liberation, you know, always striving. Like, I mean, no, it's about giving yourself the permission to be flawed and let go of and let go of, and just to be, as you said. And there's such freedom in that and self-compassion, self-kindness, as I agree with you, that's where you begin. It just flows from there, and it's massive.
And the reason I think it's such a great gift, and I think we need to start, well, personally, I think we need to give it to kids or allow them to keep it in their life. Because if we look at children, they're just mindful. They can stand there and watch ants for hours. They can, you know, and yet we, as an education systems, we just breed it out of them. We say, no, you haven't got time to be mindful. You're meant to be doing this.
Pack up now. Let's start the next thing.
Yeah, so it's
rushing.
It's a really tough thing, but I think it's what we need to start with. Because mindfulness or emotional intelligence, whatever you'd like to call it, you know, that's what Daniel Coleman, I think, or Goleman or something's called it. And if we give children the gift of mindfulness, they can take it where they are, whenever they are. They can, as you said, lifelong learning. It's actually lifelong learning in action. And it's paying attention, you know, like one of the greatest quotes I heard, this guy, we went to a seminar in Adelaide, and he said to us, were you ever taught to pay attention? And yet we say to children, pay attention, pay attention. Focus. And until you actually teach children and give them the gift of mindfulness, it might start off at 1 minute, but at least you can focus. And some adults, you know, it would be great for some adults to do 1 minute an hour. I know it is for myself. So it's just about that learning to focus. And I think that's the greatest gift we can give children. Let's forget about curriculum. Let's forget about everything else. Let's just give them a chance to be, give them a chance to focus and be mindful.
And then the other things will come.
Oh, absolutely.
Curriculum, learning, all of that will come when they feel safe and secure and supported to be who they are.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, we tell them to focus, calm down, but they're not taught how.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful to hear at the moment people saying, don't stop kids from expressing their emotions, just be there and be the regulated adult there to help them regulate. And I've even noticed with our I've been doing a few experiments with our daughter's dog, who's a little bit he's a little bit flighty, but if you're actually calm, and you know, before I used to be a little bit but now he's calm, and he's a lot calmer, even just over the last few days. So
I put a meditation on for him yesterday in the car.
Yeah.
He was jumping around the car. Let's just put a calm meditation on and see if it works. And it did. He settled right down.
But it's interesting about the regulation, self-regulation for adults, and really learn mindfulness. It's a really, really tough thing to do.
Yeah, as you say, our generation wasn't brought up with this. You know, we didn't have all the technology and all of that, so we were in a sense better off. But mind you, we wouldn't be here today talking if we didn't have technology. So there are obviously lots of huge benefits, but our generation wasn't taught all of these skills. So the adults need it in every aspect of their life. It would help their work life, their home life, their life in their community. And equally, if we want to bring up, you know, the future generations, you know, obviously it needs to have its place in all aspects of a child's life, you know. And so it's multifaceted, isn't it? So adults, teens, children. So can I ask you more about your work there? What you guys are doing and going forward after your holiday, of course.
Kind of evolving too. We're in this lovely situation. Yeah. When we left school, we thought we would be working primarily with children, but at the same time, I think having worked with children and taught mindfulness and that at school, the frustrating thing is that those children go home to adults who don't really understand it. And so there was a part of me that was like, actually, this is our chance to work with the adults as well as the children.
Yeah.
So we started, we've been doing some professional development work with teachers and helping schools set up mindfulness sort of programs and learning mindfulness for themselves as well, in your personal life that you can take into your professional life. And then the couples thing came about, which was really random and nothing that we were expecting to do, but we got asked to do that by a particular couple, and it worked really well, and they're still together. So
bonus.
Went in a little bit blind, sort of thinking, but I guess one of the things that we were worried about after being in schools for so long was how do we transfer these skills to something else? It was a big fear that we had, that we were teachers and we didn't know how to be anything else. We'd gone to school, gone to university and gone back into schools, and we had never ever worked outside of that institution. And so, like I said, in our minds we'd be working with children, and then I sort of thought, let's go for the adults. And so we've done some parent coaching, and we're doing talks now. We do conscious parenting talks, and I don't know, it's interesting. It's just whatever somebody asks us to do, we sort of look at it and go, actually, that's great. Yeah, we can do that.
We've got some talks coming up about digital detox, if you like. So, but
conscious connections, we're calling it, parenting in the digital age.
Okay.
So to help support parents, particularly with what we do with our kids being so focused on technology, and it's causing so many issues in households. And I put out a survey a few months ago just asking parents, what is the big thing that is bothering, if you could pick one thing that you really would like support with, and primarily that's what came back. So
do you take any of that work online, or is it all in person in Bali? Like, I know obviously in person is the first, primarily the most powerful way to go for that one, that in-person connection. But is any of or do you have plans to bring any of this online? Because you have so much, that you can share, and the world needs you.
Thank you.
There's your next challenge.
Well, we have thought about, that's my thing, but it also takes so much time to do that, and we've had so many people sort of coming with needs and requests and things that we have sort of been doing those things. But then, for each talk we do, or for each professional development, I create, I like to create on the computer, so I create quite a lot of resources and things to go with that. And in my mind, it's like, no, I can transfer that quite easily to an online course when I just get a little bit of time to sit down. And
I know. It takes time. I've got my first one, my little mindfulness for anxiety, and it's taken so long. And you look at it and you wonder, how has this taken so long? But it's very time consuming, and it's a whole other avenue that I know but you go where you're brought. So
Have you released that now?
I'm hoping today, but I said that to Isabel last Thursday. But I am hoping today.
Well, we had our website launch today.
Yes.
So so that's we're online, and we're happy to do counselling or therapy online as well for anyone.
So that's a Time for Change, Anthony, right? People can access you on a timeforchange.com.
Timeforchange.education.
Okay.
So
I love I love the name, Time for Change. And as you say, mindfulness is being conscious and aware. So conscious living it's a great term.
Well, see, over the last 6 months, again, through the learning we've done online courses, we've done just more and more reading about consciousness and mindfulness. And like we came up with, when we talk about how our business is evolving, like everything just comes along, but we've got the basis of it as a model that Elle came up with, and we discussed. And basically, in the center is you, and then around it is 4 different things. So the first one is you connect with yourself first, and then you understand yourself in a what is it?
Cycle.
In a cycle, and then understanding, and then you go to empowerment. So you empower yourself with new skills or new learning so that you can evolve. So our last part of it is evolving. So we take this model to whatever we're asked to do. So like if we'd love to do work with teams and corporates and sports people, whatever. Like we just want to get this message out there so that, you know, like in Australia in particular, the professional sports industries, which are really sad, they as soon as something becomes an industry, you dehumanize it. But that's my point of view on it. But so many young men are in that place of anxiety, depression, taking leave because of their mental health, you know. So we just want to share it and actually provide a long-term solution rather than the short-term solution of drugs or whatever, you know. So long-term solution, I think, is mindfulness and a plan. So
yeah, as you say, there's the short-term quick fix, unhelpful coping mechanisms. And as I also said to Isabel, like the term mindfulness, it's quite a loose term as such, and people, it's enabling people to know what it actually entails, and that it can impact everybody's life. As you say, sports people, educators, parents. It's not just for one certain type of person in one certain category.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's getting people away from that thought that, oh, I have to sit down and meditate for hours. And, you know, some people have that, and so the walls go up straight away. Whereas we were working with teachers recently, and we just said, you know, just 1 minute every hour. You know, as a teacher, you're busy all day long and you are on the go, and there's very little time to sit and be at all. But we said, rather than trying to find 20 minutes or 30 minutes, if you just choose 1 minute every hour, it might just be as you know, sip your tea, just take a deep breath and smell the aroma of your coffee or your tea, or just feel the temperature of the cup in your hand. You know, everybody can do that. Even if you're out on yard duty, you can do that.
It's even noticing your thoughts. Being, as you said, a witness to your thoughts is an amazing gift you can give yourself.
And so our teacher said to us, oh, that makes so much sense. I can do that. You know, it's not another thing I have to fit in.
Exactly.
I'm having a cup of coffee in the morning. Of course I can just sit and just smell and take it all in and just take an extra minute to drink my coffee. Or, so I think that's a really important message, that this is not big change. You don't have to change your whole lifestyle to incorporate mindfulness. It's those little things every day that you do that
actually they have a huge impact. Hey, it's and as you say, noticing your thoughts. It's not sitting down doing none of it's doing an extra thing. And you know, for people who think it's actually not going to make a difference, it's so minor and seems so trivial, but that's the gift. It's the simple things that are free are the greatest gift. And I think once people try, I also do the 1 minute a few times a day, just that check-in on your body, your mind, your whole being. And I think if people practice that 1 minute a few times a day, they actually immediately see and feel the impact it has. And then they're more likely to delve further into the whole field of mindfulness.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. It is. It's just that feeling of actually realizing. You know, I think we said a little bit earlier, sometimes you catch yourself an hour later realizing you've yelled at someone, and then you catch yourself 10 minutes later, and then you catch yourself at the time. That's the ultimate goal. And that's the mindfulness stuff kicking in. and you can actually, once you start noticing that and noticing your thoughts, it's just,
I feel like
amazing.
you've been given a superpower.
Yeah,
it really does.
It does.
Yeah, that's really nicely put. Exactly.
Yeah.
So time for change. Education. So you're just going to keep going where you're brought, where you're needed, and how lovely that you can do this work together. That's really, really that's a gift in itself. At least you're on the same page. And your children are now grown up, right? So
our children, our daughter's 25, and our son's 22. So
yeah. So our son's in London, and our daughter's here in Melbourne. So we're all over the place. It's interesting. 3 different continents.
Yeah.
We're loving what's happening in Ireland, though. It's amazing to see the beauty of mindfulness taking off more and more, and the passion.
We hear a lot about what's happening in Ireland.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Probably driven by people like yourself and Louise.
Yeah. Oh, Louise. Yeah, I'll be chatting to Louise in a few weeks. So I haven't met Louise in person, but we've been in touch a lot. And no, she's doing amazing work. Yeah. So that's why I love chat to you guys and people like you. And because I lived in South Africa for 16 years, and there just wasn't so much there. And when I came over here, it's like this whole explosion of which is amazing. It's really, really great. Yeah.
Fantastic. We need more in Australia. So people like Isabel, certainly pushing.
And this book here.
Oh,
yes.
Yes. Just having to have the copy here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just got our library here. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, I've read that. And also, what's that name of the book? John Kabat-Zinn's book again? I'm going to check that out too.
Living the whole catastrophe. The full catastrophe.
Okay, I'll remember. Catastrophe is quite easy to remember. Yeah. Thank you for that. I'll look it up. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, not really. Just a big thank you.
Yeah.
And it's so cool.
Thank you for getting people together. I think the one thing that we've really noticed about this whole sort of new community that we're gathering together, it's like this beautiful tribe of people who aren't competing against each other. Everybody's so supportive and wanting to share. And I think the gift is that we have this gift to share, and it can be shared all over the world, to every age group, to anybody, anywhere. And I love it's so beautiful to talk to people and hear their stories. And I think one of the things that comes up all the time is that most of us have suffered some anxiety or depression at some point, and that's how it came to us. So we've got that sort of shared way of being brought to this. And I don't know, it's a beautiful community.
I agree. And then you've gone through that for a reason. You have now this gift, as you say, that has helped, and you can't keep that to yourself. You have to share. Yeah. And I feel the same about the people I have come across, like yourselves, and met. It's so empowering, and we're there on a global level to support each other and to grow this conscious living, as you said, that is such a gift. It's there for anybody, and by supporting and connecting with each other and working together, we can grow that further,
Absolutely.
The other thing that I want to share too is I think that we need to continue to be really real with it, if you know what I mean. Like a lot of people, like I read an article the other day about the danger of a new age spirituality, about constant pursuit of happiness or constant pursuit of I think it was happiness, and just how some of that positive psychology, even though it's spot on, it has to be just watched, if you like. And I think the realness is really important around it. Like in Bali, we find an amazing group of people, absolutely amazing group of people, and then a few different people that are just at the beautiful level. I don't know. It's something we really need to be aware of, and just keeping it so real. And that's what these conversations are about. Just everyone know that they're welcome. Everyone's part of it. It's you don't have to be this or that or whatever to be part of it. So, yeah.
No, that's the thing. It's like I say, I'm a work in progress for the rest of my life, and it's what we have learned, and it's about sharing vulnerability. It's about being real. It's not about being happy all the time. It's about being more accepting and non-judgmental of what is, which eases the stress and the anxiety. And the more open we are with each other and more real, as you said, the less anxiety and stress exists, because we see we're all actually connected and have so much in common. And that's
we're picking up each other's judgments.
Yeah.
It's so easy to walk into a room and still be judging people, and you go, wow, what am I doing? You know, that when you become mindfulness of judgment, it's incredible. So,
it is. Yeah, it's fascinating when you start watching, hey?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Frightening sometimes.
It is.
Yeah. Oh, listen, we will definitely chat again. I know we could chat for hours. And thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much.
We'll come to see you in Ireland, I hope, very soon.
Yeah. Well, you're always welcome. It's always great to connect, and, let's see what lies ahead. But we'll stay connected, stay in touch, and let us know of anything you're doing or anything that you'd like, feel free to post on my site, and it's all about sharing and supporting each other.
Thank you so much, Sue.
Thanks for your
Thank
passion.
you guys too. I wish you the very best with your work, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you're doing going forward, and hope to see you in Bali sometime.
Yeah, that would be great, and good luck with your new course too.
Thank you. Hopefully today is the day.
Okay, sounds good.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Sue.
Thanks, guys. Bye. Chat soon. Bye.
See you later. Bye.
Bye. I have to stop recording. There we go.